Okay, let's continue.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Naidu?
Yes, Ms. Vincent.
Thank you. Just before the lunch adjournment, we were dealing with Mr. Marimutu's premises.
Yes.
If we could now deal with the Island Rock Covert facility, could you please tell the Chair about this facility?
Chair, before we go there, if I can just complete the previous testimony regarding point 143 and 144.
Yes.
I did mention that I made an assumption on this, but I just want to clarify, Chair. The assumption was not on the premises, whether the premises was rented or not. That was not the assumption. I definitely know of the premises. I was there personally, physically saw the premises. I can also point it out. The assumption was why those cameras were installed. That was the assumption that I believed that General Lazarus wanted these cameras to be installed so that he could have some evidence against Mr. Marimutu if the need arose in future.
Yes, I think that when you know that something was done, such as the installation of the cameras, but you don't know the reason for it or the motive behind it, you should leave it just at that, to say you don't know why it was done. You may have your assumptions and speculations, but you actually don't know, but it was done.
Yes, Chair, we'll do so.
Yes,
Thanks.
okay.
Thank you, Chair. Colonel Naidu, could you now please just deal with the Island Rock facility?
Yes, Chair. Chair, this is a facility belonging to the state. Like Ms. Wenzel mentioned, it's called Island Rock. It's situated in northern KwaZulu-Natal, Chair. It's totally secluded. The only way to get to this particular premise is through by means of a 4x4 vehicle. Otherwise, it's not accessible at all. Chair, General Lazarus and myself and numerous other officials or confidants within his inner circle visited this particular premises. We would go there for holidays, particularly over long weekends, school holidays, over Christmas. Like I mentioned, Chair, it's not possible to access this particular facility with a normal vehicle. You need a 4x4. Hence, state vehicles were used on these trips, Chair.
Yes. Please describe the facility. Was it how many apartments, how many rooms, and so on? Tell me more about the features of the facility.
Chair, it's basically wooden structures. There was one big open area which housed the kitchen and your living areas. One small section of the main house also accommodated the camp manager. If I remember correctly, is Captain Pete Nell. Chair, also is very important because this particular individual that I mentioned can confirm all of these visits because he was a camp manager for many years there, including the time that I'm going to testify to. There was if I remember correctly, Chair, there were 4 other rooms or houses, even to call it. Each one had two rooms in each house. Cabins, Chair, not houses. Sorry, it was cabins.
Yes, made of wood.
Wood, yes, that's correct.
Yes. So your estimate of how many, maybe I should ask you about how many people or families could it accommodate
Chair, I think it would easily accommodate 20 people at a time.
at a time?
Yeah, that's correct, Chair.
At an official level, what was it for? What was it supposed to be used for?
Chair, I really don't know.
Did you use it on a number of occasions?
Chair, myself, yes. I went there on a few occasions with General Lazarus, and at least on 2 occasions with my family, together with General Lazarus and other members of his inner circle.
And you say it had a manager.
That's correct, Chair.
You called him, or I say him, it can be her, camp manager.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, and was that somebody who was there permanently?
That would be
On a full-time basis?
That's correct, Chair.
And were there other employees employed in the facility?
There were 3 other individuals that were employed there that lived on the premises, Chair.
Yes. And when it was not being used, what would they be doing?
I can't say for certain, Chair.
You don't know. And they were being paid by crime intelligence?
That is correct, Chair.
And the only times when you have seen it being used, it was being used by personnel from crime intelligence for basically holidays.
Mostly
weekends away.
Mostly holidays, Chair.
Yeah.
But there were 2 incidents or occasions where I can remember where actual work was done. It was a getaway for a group of crime intelligence members. I think it was from the finance section. This was from General Lazarus's office, where they had, I think it was over 2 days.
Yes. And this property was not leased, but it belonged to crime intelligence.
Chair, this belongs to the state.
It belonged to the state?
Yes.
But was being used by crime intelligence?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Colonel Naidu, am I correct that this property is on the beach?
That is correct.
And did any of the suppliers to crime intelligence have access to this property?
Yes, Chair. I personally know of Mr. Joe Marks because on one occasion he attended or went to this premises. It was Mr. Joe Marks and his son, and including General Lazarus, myself, and a few other members whom I cannot recall at this stage. That was one supplier. The other supplier was Mr. Jan Venter of Atlantis Motors. I did not see him there physically, but Mr. Venter informed me on one occasion that he was going there on a weekend, which was arranged by Colonel Barnard.
I see that in your statement or affidavit you refer to Captain Pitnell as camp commander rather than camp manager. Is that right?
Camp commander, camp manager, I'm not sure if it's the same thing, Chair. Probably would be.
Could it be that it's not the same person? Is it not a question of terminology?
I would think so, Chair, but the question is there, but the person itself was definitely Captain Pitnell.
Yes, you are just not sure whether his position was referred to as camp commander or camp manager.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Chair. Colonel Naidu, could you then please deal with the Thompson's Bay property in Belito?
Chair, before I go there, I just want to confirm that all of these visits to this Island Rock facility would have been posted as operational expenses and would have been paid out of the Secret Service account.
Yes, but you say that out of those that you attended, only 2 were used for some work.
That is correct.
About how many times did you go to this facility, if you are able to remember?
Chair, over a period of a few years, it would have probably been about 7 or 8 times in total.
In total,
In
yes.
total, and of that total, 2 was with my family.
Yes. The other times you were with other members from other personnel from crime intelligence, but without your family.
That is correct, Chair.
But you say out of those 7 or 8 times that on which you used the facility, you are aware of only 2 occasions when people in the group, some people in the group used the visit for work purposes.
Official purposes, yes.
Yes, but you say each time these visits to this facility happened, on records, they were reflected as official duties for operations.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Chair.
And I'm sorry, who would have been responsible for having these visits recorded as official?
Chair, whichever person went for that particular, I'm talking about...
So each person had to fill in forms or whatever to say he or she was going on an official duty?
That is correct, Chair, in terms of the vehicles used
Yes.
and all expenses that
Yes.
was for that particular period. That is correct, Chair.
Okay, all right. And where a person took his or her family with them, would they have recorded the presence of their family members with them or friends?
No, Chair.
They would not have
No.
recorded that. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Chair. Then, Colonel Naidoo, the Belito Bay property, who owned that property?
Chair, this was a private property. It was rented by crime intelligence, but more especially for the use of General Lazarus. And most of the members within his inner circle, that included myself. I went there on 2 occasions, or rather on a few occasions. I stayed there at this property. Pardon me, Chair. On a few occasions, I visited this property together with my family. It was a upmarket property, Chair, within the precinct of Belito.
How big was it? 4 bedrooms.
It was 4 bedrooms, Chair. It was very upmarket on the beachfront.
Yes. How many times did you have occasion to use it?
Chair, I can't remember exactly, but I've been there a few times.
A few times.
That is correct.
And you say it was privately owned, so was it leased?
That is correct, Chair.
And was it leased as a safe house?
As far as I know, yes.
Apart from yourself, do you know who else used it?
Chair, it was FM 09, FM 46. It would be General Lazarus. On a few occasions when I went there, I think on 2 occasions, Chair, there were various other members from General Lazarus's extended family that were there. This was over the Christmas period.
Yes.
His immediate family and his extended family. FM 11 also, I would include in that list.
Yes. Okay. Continue.
Thank you, Chair. Colonel Naidoo, could you deal with the property we've now called X Estates in Greenstone, Johannesburg?
Yes, Chair. Chair, this, as I testified to previously, in 2006, General Lazarus was busy with extensions, or rather, not extensions, renovations to his house in Edenvale. I think it was about 2 or 3 months into the renovations, Chair, there was hijacking outside of his house. It was a state vehicle that he was driving at that stage. I think it was FM07 shot one of the hijackers, and the vehicle was also damaged because the suspect shot at this vehicle as well, the state vehicle. Chair, like I also testified to previously, General Lazarus would travel with me to his office, so I would pick him up in the morning. The morning of this happened in the weekend. I can't remember exactly which weekend, on a Saturday. When I fetched him from his house on that Monday, on our way to work, we were just discussing, it was general conversation regarding the hijacking of the previous weekend, or the weekend that passed. And he said to me, we can piggyback on this thing, if you know what I mean. And he would talk to General Lala about it.
Yes.
Chair, if I can continue.
Yes, continue.
I assume that he did get the approval from General Lala, as General Lazarus instructed me to make inquiries, or rather, Chair, sorry, if I can just go back. After he told me we can piggyback on this thing, if you know what I mean, and he asked me to make inquiries regarding a safe premises, and that he would speak to General Lala about it. I presume that he did get the necessary approval because he instructed me to secure a safe house for him.
What did you understand him to be talking about when he said we can piggyback on this thing?
Chair, like I mentioned, he was renovating his house at that stage. It was quite extensive. The house was virtually gutted in terms of the roof being taken down. He was living at the back of the house, or rather within the house, in the back, 2 rooms. So it was quite messy, Chair. So what I understood from this is that while the renovations, using the hijacking, piggybacking on the hijacking, that he will speak to General Lala so that he can move into a safe premises, using the hijacking as a threat. But actually it was because of the renovations.
How would you use the hijacking as excuse? Would it be that he was scared of staying in his house because of the hijacking, or what?
That would probably be the reason, Chair.
Or that's how you understood it?
That is correct, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, I eventually found or managed to find the premises, which I will refer to as X Estates in Greenstone in Johannesburg, which is not far from...
Sorry, you'll refer to them as?
X Estates.
Oh, yes, okay. In Greenstone.
Yes, that's correct, Chair. This was situated approximately about 5 or 7 k's away from General Lazarus' house, this particular premise that I'm speaking of. General Lazarus, together with his family, they lived in this premises for, I think it was just a period under a year, Chair. The rent for this particular premise was 6,000 rand per month. I was responsible to take care of, insofar as the payments, the rent, the amenities, the DSTV, etc. I also had to make arrangements, Chair, to have this particular premises furnished. This was paid from funds out of the Secret Service account.
And
Yes.
after the General Lazarus' alterations were completed, did he continue to remain in this house?
No, Chair. If I'm given the documents, I can confirm, but I think it was, this lease was taken for a period of 1 year. There was still outstanding 2 months that was left over on this particular lease when General Lazarus moved back into his own house. This was done when the renovations were completed. He moved out of this safe house.
And what happened to the furniture that had been purchased for the house?
Chair, the furniture, a three-seater lounge set was given to Colonel Miranda Fenter. I received a dishwasher and a television stand. Some other items were taken to General Lazarus to his own property. The rest of the items, I believe, were boarded off or auctioned off.
This terminology that furniture was boarded in quotes, what is that supposed to mean?
Sorry, Chair, I didn't hear that.
You say in paragraph 154 that the furniture from the house was boarded. You put that in quotes.
Chair, that is simply a term when an asset has reached its shelf life, if you want to call it, then it's auctioned off or boarded.
Yes. But you say this was done to this furniture despite the fact that it was in excellent condition.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay. And when, what do you normally do, or what did crime intelligence normally do with furniture that had legitimately reached a point where it should be boarded, in inverted commas?
Chair, I speak under correction. I don't know the exact process, but it would probably go on auction through a tender process, yeah, and subsequently be taken off the system.
Okay.
Be sold off and taken off the system.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Colonel Naidu, could you please tell the Chair about the property owned by Colonel FM10?
Chair, FM10 is a colonel within crime intelligence and is also a businessman. He owns numerous properties, some of which were leased by CI as safe houses. I know at least one property in Bedford View, which was rented from CI. Chair, this I don't have direct knowledge of, but this information was relayed to me by FM08. I haven't been to this property, I haven't seen it physically, but this information was relayed to me by FM08.
So, strictly speaking, it's not correct to say you know, or at least of one property, because all you know is what FM08 told you, which could or couldn't, which may or may not be true.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Colonel Naidu, could you please now deal with the Sheffield Beach property and explain who owned that property?
Chair, I'm also going to not delve on this aspect because most of it is hearsay. So I'm going to skip that as well.
Yes,
and we go to Karen Honeycomb attorneys, if I may.
Yes, okay, all right.
Could you then deal with the payments to Karen Honeycomb attorneys?
Chair, Karen Honeycomb attorneys were the conveyancing attorneys. They were basically dealing with the transfer that was purchased by General Mluli.
I'm sorry, before you proceed, Colonel Naidu, Ms. Wenzel, the parts which he is skipping because he says he doesn't have personal knowledge of, those can be investigated further to establish if his understanding is correct, and if need be, he can come back, or somebody else who has personal knowledge can come in, or who may have grounds to believe certain things about them.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make sure that that's done.
And Colonel Knight, you can assist in that process. So in other words, you might have information and you are not sure because you don't have personal knowledge, but nevertheless what you have been told by other people might help in investigating those issues, which might lead to establishing that what you knew or what you had been told is true. You understand that?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, so where you can assist with regard to that, I'm sure you will assist.
I will do so, Chair.
Yes, okay. It just helps that by the time it's aired in public, the necessary groundwork has been done to make sure that if it is aired in public, there are reasonable grounds to believe it's true.
Indeed, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, before we proceed there, in respect of this property, Colonel Naidu, do you have personal knowledge of the furniture purchased for this property?
Which property are you talking about?
The Sheffield Beach property.
That's the one he said he doesn't have personal knowledge, that he said you wanted to skip, or have you come across something that makes you think he might want to revisit that?
I think that there is an aspect that he does perhaps have personal knowledge, and if you could just clarify that.
Okay, he can clarify. Do you want to
Yes.
repeat your question?
Colonel Naidu, were you involved at all in the purchase of furniture for this property?
Not for the purchase, but I was present when the purchases were made.
And what do you mean by that?
Chair, this is a private property, and I won't delve into the details, but it is a private property.
Yes.
When this property was being constructed, or rather in its completion, FM07,
Yeah.
General Lazarus and myself made arrangements to purchase furniture for this particular private property using funds from the Secret Service account. The items were purchased from New World. Chair, this is not now New World Motors, if I can clarify.
Oh, yes.
It's
okay.
another service provider to Company X, but it's called New World.
Okay. So you were present when furniture was purchased for this property?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes, but that's about all that you have personal knowledge of.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, but you do have suspicions that it might be a property that was used as a safe house illegally, or something to that effect.
Chair, this was developed as a private property. It wasn't a safe house. It was in the process of being built.
Yes.
And nearing its completion, it was furnished by using funds from the Secret Service account.
Yes.
So I think that's as far as I can take it there.
Yes. So what you can say is that the furniture that was used, that was purchased to put into this property as it was nearing completion, was furniture purchased with money from the Secret Service account.
Indeed, Chair.
Yes, okay. I think that's important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chair, I'll now go to current Honeycomb attorneys, point 163.
Yes.
As I mentioned, this was attorneys that were appointed as a conveyancing attorney dealing with the transfer of a property purchased by General Mdluli. And Chair, if I can just explain how I got involved in this. I remember having a conversation with General Lazarus. He informed me that General Mdluli gave him a check that was to be deposited into this account of current Honeycomb attorneys. It was for this property that he was purchasing at the time. General Mbluli was traveling somewhere, Chair. He was out of the country. I can't recall what General Lazarus exactly said, but he was not available. He instructed me to deposit this check of 40,000 rand into...
So again, 40,000 rand.
It seems to be a common thread, Chair.
So
yes.
you people at Crime Intelligence like 40,000 rand.
Seems to be a common number, yes.
Yeah.
Chair, General Lazarus further instructed me to take an advance from the advance office of 30,000 rand. So the total amount of 70,000 rand would be deposited into this account of current Honeycomb attorneys. This was all instruction that I received from General Lazarus, Chair.
Did he tell you why you had to deposit that amount in the account of Honeycomb attorneys?
Chair, I can't remember or recall the exact conversation, but the instruction that he gave me was to deposit this money into this account. The check was from General Mbluli. It was his name pre-printed on the bottom of the check. It was a blank check. General Lazarus himself filled in. I assume this check would have been given to him by General Mbluli.
Yes.
General Lazarus filled in the amount because it was a blank check, Chair.
Yes.
Together with this check and the advance that I obtained of 30,000 rand from the cash office, I proceeded to, I think it's an ABSA bank, Chair, and I made the deposit. I think a deposit slip is annexed to my statement.
So the deposit that you made was, you deposited a check signed by General Mbluli.
That is correct, Chair.
Where the amount had been filled in by General Lazarus.
That is correct, Chair.
And you deposited that check into the account of Karen Honeycomb attorneys.
That is correct, Chair.
That check was for 30,000 rand.
40,000 rand.
40,000 rand.
Yes. Chair, if I can just make a correction quickly.
Yeah.
When I say the amount of 40,000, the amount was already written in by General Mbluli. But where you had to write physically the amount in words, that was written by General Lazarus.
General Mbluli had written the amount in figures.
That is correct, Chair.
And then he had not written the amount in words.
The words was written in by General Lazarus.
Oh, okay. Okay. So did you understand that this money was in relation to a property that General Mbluli was buying?
That's what I can recall, Chair.
Yes, but why did General Lazarus have to be the one to fill in the amount in words? Do you know? If General Mbluli had already written the amount in figures.
Chair, it was blank, Chair, at that stage. There was nothing written in the check when he handed it over to me.
When General Mbluli handed it over to you?
No, Chair. General Mbluli handed the check over to General Lazarus, and General Lazarus subsequently gave me the instruction to make the deposit. The actual writing of the amount in words was done by General Lazarus.
Oh, I thought that you said that General Mbluli had written the amount in figures.
In figures,
but
Chair, that's correct.
Not written the amount in words.
That is
General
correct.
Lazarus was the one who wrote it in words.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, which is which?
Okay, the amount was already written in, Chair, by General Mbluli. The figures I'm talking about. The amount of 40,000 rand in words was written out by General Lazarus in my presence.
Now, were you present when General Mhluli wrote the amount in words, in figures?
No, Chair.
Yeah. Were- And when were you present when General Lazarus wrote the amount in words?
That is correct, Chair.
But so then when you spoke about the check being blank, what were you talking about?
When I said it was blank, Chair, I meant that I was referring to the words. The words were not written in, but the amount was written in. There was
Yes.
no, the space where you have to write out the amount, that was blank.
Yeah, is your recollection on this matter quite clear?
Very clear, Chair.
Yes, I'm asking that because I seem to think that you have gone from one version of saying the check was blank and that General Lazarus wrote both the amount in figures and the amount in words to a version that says General Mhluli wrote the amount in figures, but General Lazarus wrote the amount in words.
Chair,
I
if I,
seem to think you have said that a few times. Am I
Yeah.
wrong?
if I may, Chair, let me clarify.
Did I misunderstand something?
I'm not sure, maybe I wasn't very clear, Chair. If I may, the amount in the actual figure was written by General Mhluli, and the check was given to General Lazarus. When I met him at his office, the space where you had to write out the amount in words was blank. That was written out by General Lazarus in my presence.
How do you know that the amount in figures was written by General Mhluli when you were not there when whoever wrote the amount wrote it?
Okay, Chair, that would not be very clear because that was his check with his pre-printed name at the bottom. So I'm assuming that figure was written in by General Mhluli.
Yes, but you see now you're saying you are assuming.
Yes, Chair, that part may not be very clear. That's an assumption, yes.
Yes.
But what I can confirm is that that was a check by General Mhluli because his name was pre-printed on the bottom.
Yes, but you remember a while ago I said, please, if you are not sure, if you assume, don't tell me that. Just tell me what you know. And you remember I asked you, is your memory quite clear on this matter? And you said yes.
Chair, my apologies, Chair. What I'm sure about is that General Lazarus wrote in the figure or the words.
Yes.
The figure, I'll stay away from that.
You are not sure
I'm
as
not
to
sure.
who wrote the amount in figures?
I'll stay away from that, Chair.
Yes.
My apologies.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Chair. In whose name was the advance for the additional amount of 30,000 taken?
Chair, this advance was taken on my name, Chair. This was an instruction of General Lazarus.
And who approved that advance?
It was General Lazarus.
And why was the advance taken in your name?
Chair, this was an instruction, like I said, from General Lazarus. This was the cash amount of 30,000. When he further instructed me to take the check together with the cash of 30,000 rand that he had just approved and deposit it into this account of Karen Hanekom, attorneys.
And if you have regard to page 116,
Yes,
is that the deposit slip that you are referring to?
that is correct.
What page is it? 116.
116.
Did you fill in that deposit slip?
Chair, that is my writing. That's correct.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
And after this, were arrangements made to repay this advance of 30,000 that had been taken in your name? to crime intelligence?
Indeed, Chair, as I testified to previously, a safe house was being rented, or rather General Mluli safe house was being rented by crime intelligence. When I met General Mluli a week or two after taking this advance, I suggested to him that I pay off this outstanding advance of 30,000 Rand on my name, if I could, with his permission, use the money from the premises, which was 7,000 Rand, to pay off this outstanding advance on my name. He agreed, Chair. I also relayed this message, or rather relayed this conversation that I had with General Mluli to General Lazarus, and they were both fine with it.
I'm going to come back to and ask you to repeat this discussion that you had with General Mluli, but I just want to go back to the deposit slip at page 116.
Yes, Chair.
You know, the paragraph which deals with this is paragraph 163, the deposit into the account of Karen Hanekom attorneys. And that paragraph has got at least two amounts for one, and the amount of 40,000 Rand and the amount of 30,000 Rand.
That is correct, Chair.
Now, I understood you earlier on, and you must just tell me if I misunderstood you, to say that the amount that you deposit into the account of the attorneys, Karen Hanekom attorneys, was 40,000 Rand.
That is correct, Chair.
Now, this check here, there is a reference to 30,000 Rand two times, and then there is 40,000 Rand. What can you say to me to try and clarify?
Chair, this is simply the 30,000 Rand was a cash advance that I've taken from the Secret Service account. The other 40,000 was the check. I think the check number is also on that deposit slip. Where the other 30,000 Rand is reflected, Chair, is merely a subtotal because there's no other amounts there.
So the amount that you actually deposited into the account of Karen attorneys was 70,000 Rand?
That is correct, Chair.
Not 40,000 Rand?
No, Chair.
But do you recall that when I asked you said it was 40,000 Rand? Or did I misunderstand you?
Chair, if I did, it was a mistake on my part, but the actual amount was 70,000.
Yes.
Maybe I was referring to the check and not the cash, but in total it was 70,000 that was deposited.
Okay, all right. So the 70,000 Rand was made up of two amounts. There was 30,000 Rand, which was an advance that you took in your name.
That is correct, Chair.
Which was cash.
That is correct.
And then there was 40,000 Rand.
In the form of a check, yes.
In the form of a check.
Indeed.
And that check being the check from General Mluli.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, so you deposited in the end an amount of 70,000 Rand.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. You can proceed.
Chair, Colonel Naidu was dealing with how the arrangement that he sought to make to pay back the 30,000 Rand that advance had been taken in his name.
Yes, I would like him to repeat that.
Yes.
Colonel Naidu, you said that about 2 weeks after you had taken out this advance payment, you had a discussion with General Mluli about it. Please just repeat that discussion.
Yes, Chair. It was probably a few weeks after this deposit was made and after the advance that I had taken on my name, which was outstanding. I suggested to General Mluli if that I could use the money that he was collecting as rent from the property that CIA was renting from him to pay off this advance. Chair, I did this over a period of a few months, where I would take the 7,000 Rand, and instead of giving it or handing it over to General Mluli, I would pay off the advance, although it would be a part payment of 7,000. This I did over 4 months, and I think the last payment was 2,000 rand, Chair. That's how this advance was settled or reconciled.
So money was taken from where and put where?
Chair, if I can just refresh, I testified earlier that General Mluli's flat in Gordons Bay was being rented by CI.
Yes.
And on a monthly basis, I would collect the cash from Mr. John Applesamy from Dyer's Trading.
Yes.
And hand over the cash to General Mluli.
Yes.
This was on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. When I took this advance, Chair, to pay the attorneys, this was outstanding. I could not reconcile this advance. Mm-hmm. I then suggested to General Mluli, if I could, with his permission, the money that I collected from Mr. John Applesamy for his property with regards to the rent, the 7,000 rand, if I could pay it off each month against this outstanding 30,000 rand. He agreed, Chair. This was done over a few months until this advance was paid off.
Yes, okay. So the effect of that was that in the end, the money that had been paid, the 30,000 rand that you had taken as an advance payment for his benefit, was repaid.
That is correct, Chair, over a period of 5 months.
Yes, okay, all right. And this was, the deposit was made on 25 May 2010, eh?
That is correct, Chair, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Colonel Naidu, you then deal with upgrades to the properties of various crime intelligence members. Could you first please deal with a property owned by General Lazarus' sister?
Chair, regarding care upgrading of CI members' properties, I'm going to skip this section as well because all of this was conversations or general conversations that I had with various members of crime intelligence, and I picked up these things, so I'm going to skip this, Chair.
Okay, all right. As I said, in regard to, in the context of the other part which you skipped, they can still be investigated further.
That is correct,
to establish
Chair.
Whether it is indeed what happened, and if it is, then either you or somebody else can come and give evidence about those aspects.
That is correct, Chair. Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
there's just one aspect where I have personal knowledge, and I
Yes.
refer to, still under the heading of K, upgrading of CI members' properties, and I refer to point 167.7.
Yes.
Chair, this was my own property.
Mm-hmm.
This was a period when General Lazarus was busy renovating his home, Chair. There was a period, I think, of 2 or 3 weeks where there was downtime for the renovations at his property. He said to me that, I think he gave me a check. No, he did give me a check. I remember clearly, Chair. It was a check for 20,000 rand. He said that I should upgrade the property to my own house. Well, not the whole property. It was a boundary wall, and to replace the driveway gate.
Yes.
This was in the amount of 20,000 rand, Chair.
Was this money that he was just like giving it to you to spend for this purpose, with nothing for him, in it for him?
Chair, it was a check that he'd given me. It wasn't cash, but he did mention to me that he would sort it out with Dina. Dina, referring to Major General Dina Moodley, was a crime intelligence head, KwaZulu-Natal at that stage.
Why would he sort it out with him?
Chair, again, this would be hearsay if I delve into that.
Yes, okay.
But I can provide more details further to
Yes.
this
Or after some investigation?
at a later stage, yes.
Okay, no, that's fine. I mean, in a commission, we allow hearsay, but there's got to be some limit. And where things can be investigated first, they should be investigated first as far as possible. Okay.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, so he gave you this amount and said use it to upgrade your own property by building a boundary wall, is that right, and driveway?
That is correct, Chair, and replacing the driveway gate.
And you had not asked for this, he just came up with the idea?
That's correct, Chair.
Yes. And, but what was your understanding of whose money you were going to use for this purpose? Was your understanding that he was giving you, or maybe let me ask first, you said it was a check. Was it his check?
It was his own check, Chair, yes.
Yes. Did you have an understanding of what he meant when he said he would sort it out with dinner?
Chair,
Your own understanding of what he meant?
Chair,
Or
my
you were
understanding
not
of
sure?
that would be indeed crime intelligence money, but like I said, I can't delve into that
Yes.
further.
Yes,
That's as
okay.
far as I can take it.
But you are not able to think of any reason why, without you having asked him, he would give you 20,000 rand from his own pocket to improve your property?
No, Chair. It was 20,000 rand, Chair.
20,000 rand?
That is correct.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I must also mention, if I may, that amount was never paid back to General Lazarus by myself.
Yes, and he never asked for it?
No, Chair.
Yes, okay, thank you. And we don't have a copy of that check here, do we? Colonel Naidu?
Chair, I'm not
In the
aware
bundle?
of that annexure. I'm not sure if it is here.
Oh, okay.
It
It's
isn't in
not
the
here.
bundle. No.
Okay, all right. Do you have a recollection of roundabout when this was, when he gave you this check?
Chair, General Lazarus was renovating his own property around 2006, 2007, so it would have been probably in the same time frame.
Okay, all right. Yes, continue.
Thank you. Colonel Naidu, you then deal with the acquisition of state vehicles. As far as you are aware, were the generals in crime intelligence entitled to acquire state vehicles?
Chair, I'm going to skip that as well. It's also hearsay. This was through general conversation that I had.
Yes, okay.
Who was responsible for acquiring?
Let me first understand from where he skips to where. So you'd be skipping from paragraph 168
And that is correct, Chair.
up to where?
Up to 170.
Up to 170.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And from 171, you are ready to deal with that? Or from 172?
No, Chair, it would go from 168 to 172.5.
Those are the paragraphs you are skipping?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So it means we go
Page 40.
to the next heading. Is that
Page
right?
40, Chair. Yes.
SR vehicles. Okay, take it from there.
Thank you. Colonel Naidu, who was responsible for the acquisition of state vehicles?
Chair, this is in reference to the Mluli family, 173, Chair.
Yes.
I was in charge of these 7 agents, so I would ultimately take care of the petrol claims regarding these vehicles, Chair.
Yes.
It was 7 vehicles in total. If I just may name them, Chair.
Yeah.
One was a BMW 330 diesel, a sedan. The second one was, and if I can just give the amount, Chair,
Yes.
the amount of 487,313 rand. This was utilized by FM24. The
Yes.
second vehicle, Chair, a Nissan Micra. The amount for this particular vehicle was 127,000 rand. This was utilized by
Mm-hmm.
FM30. The third vehicle, Chair, a VW Golf 1.6, or rather VW Golf 6 1.4, utilized by FM25. The amount, Chair, 220,365 rand. Chair,
Yes.
fourth vehicle, Chair, a Honda Jazz 1.5, utilized by FM29. The amount, Chair, 172,000 rand. The fifth vehicle, Chair, a Audi A4 2-liter, utilized by FM28. The amount, 352,309 rand and 10 cents. The sixth vehicle, Chair, VW Golf 6 1.4, utilized by FM27. The amount of 221,376 rand. And the last vehicle being the seventh one, Chair, VW Golf 6 GTI, utilized by FM26. And I don't see an amount. Amount is unknown to me, but I can confirm if the documents are shown to me.
Okay. Okay.
Colonel Naidu, this section of your statement is prefaced by a statement at paragraph 173 that you were shown documentation by Colonel Rulofsa regarding state vehicles that were delivered to General Ndluli's family members. But
That
you
is-
say you can comment on them as follows. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, on whose instructions were these vehicles delivered to the Ndluli family members?
Chair, these are the instructions that I received from General Lazarus. He also informed me that I would be responsible for these vehicles insofar as the claims in respect of each one of these vehicles. Chair, on a monthly basis, I would receive petrol slips from these members, and I would complete the necessary compilation of the claims. Chair, being them, as they were agents, their daily trips were not logged. Rather, it was just an opening mileage for the month and a closing mileage at the end of the month. So I had no idea where the vehicles were being utilized and for what purpose.
Yes.
And who delivered these vehicles?
Chair, these vehicles were delivered to I'm not sure if I can, I won't mention the area where they were delivered to, but they were delivered to
To the persons that are mentioned in to the persons mentioned who are part of the list of 7
as in 173, Chair, yes.
from the Ndluli family that you were handling.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes, okay. So you delivered the vehicles to each one of them. They are one,
That is correct, Chair.
whatever the place was where you were asked to deliver it.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
And did you make them sign any documents?
They had to sign on receipt of the vehicle, Chair, that they indeed received that particular vehicle. I think there is a signature there of in the agent files.
Yes. And you told them what was expected of them in terms of their use of the vehicles under
That is correct,
crime
Chair.
intelligence.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Colonel Naidu, if you could please then deal with General Mduli's vehicles, the vehicles he used himself, not delivered to family members.
Chair, yes, Chair. General Mdluli made use of 7 vehicles. Chair, this was not at any one particular given time. It was over a period of time. From the time he was appointed, that was in July 2009, until I went into witness protection was in October 2011. So this was a period of, over the time period that I've just mentioned. The one vehicle, Chair, this was Audi Q7. This vehicle was utilized by General Mdluli, Chair, as his official vehicle. This was from the open account. This was not procured from the Secret Service account, Chair.
Yes.
General Mdluli at that stage was a Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence. So in terms of the of his rank, I think he had the authority to use this vehicle with an official driver. Chair, he also had a bodyguard, but I'm not sure if that's within the prescripts. But he did have a bodyguard.
Yes. Okay.
And then I referred to a Mercedes-Benz, as in 177.2. Chair, this was a Mercedes-Benz E350 CDI.
And I'm sorry, let's go back to the first one, the Audi Q7. Are you able to indicate during which period he used that vehicle?
Chair, this is a vehicle he would have received when he was appointed. That was in July 2009.
Yes.
Until
Okay.
until the period of 2011 March thereabout when he was arrested.
Yes.
This was his official vehicle.
You did say that he didn't use all of these 7 vehicles at the same time. But
No,
are
Chair.
you able to say whether at any one time he would have had a minimum of X number of vehicles that he used?
Chair,
Or is that something you are not able to say?
I'm not sure exactly of the time frames, but I would say at least 3 of those vehicles were used for his use at any given time.
Yes, okay, all right. Continue. You were on to 177.2.
Chair, this vehicle was purchased through funds from the Secret Service account.
That's the Mercedes-Benz E350 CTI,
That is correct, Chair.
right?
Sorry, Chair, can I continue?
Yeah, continue, yeah.
Chair, as opposed to the first vehicle, when I mentioned the Audi Q7, this was procured via the open account. The Mercedes and the rest that I mentioned is all procured using funds from the Secret Service account.
Yes.
The first one, the Mercedes E350 CDI. This vehicle was purchased from Mercedes-Benz Lifestyle Center, Menlyn, the amount being 636,950 Rand.
Yes.
Chair, however,
It was purchased by Company X
that's correct, Chair.
using the Security Service account.
Secret Service account, Chair.
Yes.
That is correct. Chair, if I just may give you some insight regarding this particular vehicle.
Yes.
General Mdluli, initially, he was happy with the vehicle, Chair, but a few months later, he instructed General Lazarus to trade this type or this particular vehicle for another one. Chair, I was there when General Mdluli came to General Lazarus's office. He gave General Lazarus a list of extras that this particular vehicle, and I'm referring to the Mercedes-Benz, that did not have. He wanted those extras to be installed on the Mercedes-Benz. Chair, those extras only comes from the factory. Subsequently, another Mercedes-Benz. Chair, if you look at 177.3, Mercedes-Benz E-Class 350 CDI. Chair, it's exactly the same vehicle. I'm talking about now, this is the second Mercedes-Benz that was purchased for
Yes.
General Mdluli. It's
Yes.
exactly the same vehicle, Chair. But if you look at the difference in the amount that was paid,
The price.
yes, Chair, the first one was 636,950 rand. I refer to the second one. This was 826,780 rand and 1 cent. Chair, the difference between these two figures that I've just given was the extras that was fitted onto the next or the second Mercedes, as per General Mdluli's instruction to General Lazarus.
Yes.
The next vehicle, Chair, is a BMW 530 Diesel Sedan. This vehicle was purchased from Leo Haas, that's in Pretoria. The amount being 706,150 rand, purchased by Company X. Chair, the next one, a black Jeep. General Mdluli also made use of this vehicle, Chair. However, this was not purchased specifically for General Mdluli. This vehicle was previously utilized by Commissioner Mpeko when he was the divisional commissioner. When General Mdluli was appointed, for a short period, he made use of this vehicle. Chair, however, he was not very happy with this vehicle, and this vehicle was redirected to another province. I think it was KZN. Chair, then I go to the next vehicle.
The BMW 530D at the top of the page, was it bought with money from the securities
Secret Service account. That is correct, Chair.
Okay, and actually, all these vehicles were purchased using funds from that account, other than the first one, which you said was
The Audi, Chair.
used, the Audi Q7.
That is correct,
which
Chair.
was purchased through the open account.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, all right, yes. Continue.
Chair, the black Jeep, like I mentioned, that was not purchased specifically for General Mdluli. It was a vehicle previously utilized by the then CI head, Commissioner Mpeko. General Mdluli made use of this vehicle for a very short period, Chair, a few months, if I can remember correctly, and it was redirected to another province.
Yes.
Chair, the next vehicle, a Lexus. This vehicle was initially purchased by Company X for General Mchwe's Chair. I'll testify to this a little later on and give more detail. But this vehicle also purchased initially for the intention to be given to General Mchwe. She did not like this vehicle, so General Mdluli made use of this vehicle for a few months. No, not few months. It was until his arrest in 2011.
Yes.
Who was responsible for the petrol claims in respect of these vehicles?
Chair, all of these vehicles that I've referred to was my responsibility, Chair. This was an instruction that was given to me by General Lazarus that I would be personally responsible. Chair, these claims were not done, as opposed to your normal vehicles, these claims were not done on a monthly basis. Whenever I'd get receipts from General Mdluli, I would complete the logbooks or the petrol claim, Chair.
So, did the availability of all these vehicles to him mean that he could leave his official car and use any one of those vehicles that were available to him as he saw fit?
That is correct, Chair.
Okay.
And did anyone else have use of these vehicles?
Not that I'm aware of, Chair.
What are the chances that there could be somebody else or other people who use them and you would not have been aware of it?
Chair, there is a possibility, but it's going to be speculation, so I would not speculate, Chair.
Yes. So it could be that they were, or some of them were used by one or more other people, but you might not know.
Indeed, Chair.
Okay.
And Colonel Naidu, did you ever process petrol claims for any other person at Crime Intelligence in respect of these vehicles? Did you hear me?
Sorry, Ms. Wenzel, can you repeat?
Did you ever process petrol claims by anybody else at Crime Intelligence in respect of these vehicles?
No. No.
If anyone else used them and in the process of doing so had to put in petrol and had to put in petrol
Chair, pardon me, I didn't hear that, Chair.
excuse me.
Oh, sorry, Chair.
If anybody used any one or more of the vehicles at any stage, other than General Mhluli, and did put in petrol, would you have been the only person to whom they would have had to submit petrol slips? Or could they submit them to somebody else?
Chair, that would also be speculation. If somebody else within Crime Intelligence had indeed access to these vehicles, there is a possibility that they could have used the vehicles, put in petrol and done the claim separately to what I was receiving from General Mhluli in terms of the receipts. So there is a possibility, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's continue.
Are you okay? Thank
I'm trying.
you. I can see, Chair. If you indicate to us you are not feeling fine, you would let us know.
Let's try and see how far we can go.
Yes.
Yes.
Colonel Naidu, at paragraph...
Maybe I might, maybe we should take a short adjournment. I could arrange for some further prescription from the doctor before they leave.
Yes.
Let's take 10 minutes. We will resume at 3:20. We adjourn.
Thank you, Chair.
Shane is not well. I beg your pardon. Colonel Naidu, could you please tell the chair about the vehicle purchased for the use by Minister Mthethwa?
Yes, Chair. This was a Mercedes-Benz ML350. This vehicle was purchased at Mercedes-Benz Amslanger Rocks, or Amslanger, Chair. The amount of this particular vehicle was 373,850 rand, Chair. Chair, I have personal knowledge of this vehicle.
Which year was that?
This was would probably be in 2009 or 2010, Chair.
Okay, all right. Yes. The price was 373 rand and 850 rand. 373,000 rand, 850.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes.
This vehicle was specifically purchased for use by the then Minister of Police, Minister Nathi Mthethwa. Chair, it was myself and Colonel FM11 who delivered this vehicle to Minister Mthethwa's residence in Pretoria. This particular vehicle, Chair, that I referred to was registered in the name of FM11.
FM?
11.
Yes, okay.
Chair, the Minister utilized this vehicle for a few months. I remember this because General Mluli, when I met him at his office on one occasion, he instructed me to pick up the vehicle from the Minister's house, as the Minister informed him that he no longer wanted to make use of this vehicle as journalists were following him. I remember, Chair, I spoke to FM11 to make arrangements for the vehicle to be fetched from Minister Mthethwa's house.
Yes. Was this a vehicle that was purchased with money or funds from the Secret Service account?
That is correct, Chair. Purchased through Company X.
Yes. Were all purchases of goods, or were all payments made by Company X from the Secret Service account, or were there some payments that were made by Company X from the open account?
Chair, all of these vehicles that I mentioned, except the Audi Q7, were purchased with funds from the Secret Service account, ultimately being Company X.
Yes. And in regard to this one, you are sure about that?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes. Okay. So arrangements, General Mtluli gave instructions that arrangements should be made for the vehicle to be fetched from Minister Mthethwa's residence in Pretoria?
That is correct, Chair. He instructed me to retrieve the vehicle from the Minister's house, as the Minister no longer wanted to make use of that particular vehicle, as he mentioned to General Mluli that journalists were following him. I thereafter made arrangements with Colonel FM11, Chair, to pick up the vehicle from the Minister's house. FM11 knew where the Minister's house was because he had previously went there with me to deliver the vehicle initially, Chair. This vehicle was...
when the vehicle was delivered for the first time, were you part of that?
Yes, Chair. I arranged with FM11 to drive the vehicle because he had not known at that stage where Minister Mthethwa stayed. I did, Chair, because on a previous few occasions, I had taken or driven General Mluli there for a meeting that he was having with the Minister. So I knew where the residence was.
Yes, okay. So when it was to be fetched, you also went to the Minister's residence together with FM11?
No, Chair. I made arrangements with FM11 to fetch the vehicle from the Minister's house.
Excuse me. And this time he knew the way to get there.
Chair, having been there the first time with me to deliver the vehicle, yes, he did know where the premises was.
Yes. Okay, continue.
Chair, after FM11 collecting the vehicle from Minister Mtetwa, the vehicle was parked at our vehicle store. When I say our, it's CI vehicle store. It was occasionally used by General Lazarus. On at least one occasion, he used this particular vehicle to Island Rock. Chair, this vehicle was thereafter driven to Cape Town. It was utilized by General Mbluli. If I'm given to understand correctly, I think this is the same vehicle that was this was the vehicle that was registered in the name of FM24.
Initially, you said it was registered in the name of FM11, isn't it?
That is correct, Chair.
Was that registration changed afterwards?
That is correct, Chair. Registered in the name of FM24.
Are you able to say for how long the vehicle was with Minister Mtetwa?
Chair, it would have been probably a few months, Chair.
Yes.
Not more than a year.
Yes. Okay. Now, vehicles that are bought by National Crime Intelligence, does Crime Intelligence ever buy vehicles for ministers, for Minister of Police? I take it that he was Minister of Police at the time.
That is correct, Chair. He was the Minister of Police. In terms of him using a vehicle from Crime Intelligence, I can't be certain, Chair. I'm not sure what the policy is.
You don't know?
No, Chair.
Okay, all right. Yes, and in terms of, you have no recollection also in terms of kilometers that it would have traveled during the time that it was with him when it was returned?
Chair, I can't say exactly, but it wouldn't have been used extensively because it was just a few months. So
Yes.
It would have been still fairly new.
Yes. Did you have any understanding of the context for the statement that, according to Chiram Mdluli, the minister didn't want to continue using the car because journalists were following him? Did you have any understanding what that was about? Why would journalists have been following him?
Chair, from what I'm given to understand from this instruction or conversation that I had with General Mbluli regarding the vehicle and journalists following the minister, I believe, Chair, that this was not a above board transaction. Being afraid that journalists were following him, he was reluctant thereafter to use this vehicle and instructed me to retrieve the said vehicle.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Chair. Could you then deal with the vehicle purchased for General Mtwe?
Yes, Chair. This was Chair, as I said initially, when I referred to the vehicle that was being utilized by General Mdluli, the Lexus, Chair, this particular vehicle was initially purchased for the use of General Mtwe. Chair, when this vehicle was purchased, he did not like this vehicle. That's how General Mdluli came about making use of this particular vehicle. With regards to General Mtwe's vehicle, a vehicle was purchased for her. It was an Audi Q4, Chair, 3-liter TDI. I don't have the documents in front of me, so I can't say what the value of this particular vehicle was. Chair, but I have insight as to how this vehicle was, or why this vehicle was procured for this particular individual. Chair, it was in around 2010. This was when the promotion, I'm speaking now of the 250 post, which is commonly known as the 250 post. It was around that time, 2010. It was probably in the first half of 2010. General Mdluli called me. He was at his office, Crime Intelligence Head Office. He asked me to fetch him. Thereafter proceeded, he informed me that he is having a meeting with General Mchwe and that I should drive him there, which I did. Chair, I waited for him. When he came back, he mentioned, and he smiled or laughed a bit, he said, hey, Solly must buy this auntie a car.
Who was saying that, saying to whom, or in relation to whom?
General Mdluli said to me, Solly must buy this auntie a car.
And who is Solly now?
Solly, sorry, Chair, if I can explain, Solly being the reference to General Lazarus, and auntie being the reference to General Mchwe.
Oh, was Solly General Lazarus' name? Or
Yes.
nickname?
His name, Solomon Lazarus.
Solomon. Okay, all right.
Yes, Chair.
Yes. Okay, continue.
Chair, at that stage, there was the relationship between. Okay, Chair. Sorry, I'm gonna not speak on that because it's speculation. I'm gonna speak of what I know.
Yes.
What I can say is that at that stage, General Mchwe was not employed at CI. I think she was the Divisional Commissioner of Head of Human Resources at the SAPS.
Yes.
She had no dealings with crime intelligence, or rather, she did have dealings with crime intelligence, but she wasn't stationed at crime intelligence. Chair, what I can say further is that this particular vehicle was purchased for General Mchwe. I, together with FM02, who's actually a relative of General Lazarus, FM02 Chair was at that stage living with General Lazarus at his house. I got a call from General Lazarus. He asked me to come to his home. He further instructed me. When I got there, I saw this particular vehicle that I speak of, Chair. It was a white Audi Q5. It was parked in his driveway. He instructed me, together with FM02, to take the vehicle and deliver it to General Mchwe. This was at her residence in Bedford View, Chair. I think it was Essex World.
Yes.
FM02 drove the vehicle and I followed him to General Mchwe's house. Chair, I met General Mchwe in a driveway, and she personally took possession of this vehicle. I handed over the keys. At that stage, the vehicle it wasn't registered, Chair. It had those temporary plates. I also remember very clearly, Chair.
So it was brand new?
It was brand new, Chair.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember on that particular date, when I delivered this vehicle, it was parked on a driveway, not on the roadside.
Yes.
Chair, and she said to me, are you just going to, before I left, after handing the keys over to her, she said to me, are you going to you're just going to park this vehicle on the roadside? So I wasn't really sure what she meant by that, because the vehicle was parked inside the property on the driveway. So I really don't know what she meant by that.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, I didn't pay much attention to that, Chair. The vehicle, like I mentioned, had temporary plates.
You left the vehicle where it was parked?
In her driveway at the premises,
Yeah.
Chair.
Okay.
Chair, although I did not register this particular vehicle myself, but I did facilitate in the vehicle being registered on General Mchwe's name.
On whose name?
On General Mchwe's name.
Oh, so it was registered in her personal, as her personal car.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes.
In order for me to facilitate this process, I required certain documents, Chair, from her, namely ID and a utility bill. If I remember correctly, I had a conversation with General Mdluli, and I think he facilitated this for me to receive those documents in order for me to have the vehicle registered in General Mchwe's name.
Yes. Can I take you back to paragraph 182? There you say that General Lazarus informed you that General Mdluli had suggested that you purchase, or I guess CI purchase a vehicle for General Mchwe,
Yes.
as there was bad blood between her and General Lazarus. Why would bad blood between General Mchwe and General Lazarus be the reason for her to be bought a car by crime intelligence?
Chair, if still on 182, as you referred, if I can just correct, this is incorrect, Chair. If I can just rectify that.
Yes.
It was not General Lazarus who informed me that General Mdluli buy a vehicle for General Mchwe. I informed General Lazarus of this arrangement.
Or you informed General Lazarus that General Mdluli had suggested that you purchase a vehicle for General Mchwe?
Yes, Chair. After as I've testified already, after dropping General Mdluli off from this meeting that he had with General Mchwe, and after having that discussion with me regarding the purchase of this vehicle for General Mchwe, I informed General Lazarus about what the contents of the discussion I had with General Mdluli, but I informed him also that General Mdluli will speak to him further when he sees him.
Did you say anything along the lines that is now to General Lazarus, that there was bad blood between General Mdluli and General Mchwe?
Chair, not General Mdluli, between General Lazarus and General Mchwe. But also, I'm going to stray away from that, Chair, because that's an assumption, because this was a time when the 250 posts were in the process of being concluded.
Are you going to stay away from it in relation to, in relation to what this related to, or even whether this was said, you are not sure about it?
Chair, what I'm sure of is that the conversation that I had with General Mdluli regarding the purchase of the said vehicle for General Mchwe, but I will stay away from the assumption that there was bad blood.
You'll stay away from the reason or motive for buying the car?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. But apart from what you may have been told by General Mdluli, are you able to enlighten me on why General Mdluli or crime intelligence had to buy General Mchwe a motor vehicle when she was not part of crime intelligence? Or is that something you know nothing about?
That would delve directly on what I said that I need to stray away from, so
yes,
I can't go further there, Chair.
Okay,
in terms of the reasoning behind the purchase.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yes, Ms. Wenzel.
Colonel Naidu, in the CI's asset register, in whose name was this vehicle registered?
Chair, this vehicle was registered as an asset against my name, Chair, but it wasn't actually registered as an Audi Q4. Chair, it was registered as an Audi A4. This was intentionally done as to not attract any attention to the relevant people who had been auditing CI books. This instruction or this arrangement was told to me by Colonel Barnard.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at your affidavit to see where you, oh, this is 184, where you say the vehicle was, say General Lazarus then arranged for the purchasing of a white Audi Q5 3.0 TDI. Is that right?
That is correct, Chair.
And that is the vehicle that was purchased?
That is indeed the vehicle that I delivered to General Nchwe.
And but you say in the asset register of crime intelligence, the position was misrepresented.
The true identity of that vehicle was misrepresented, Chair. It wasn't an Audi Q4, but it was captured as an Audi A4.
Yes, and what was the reason for that? You said not to attract attention.
That is correct. This was deliberate, not to attract any attention to myself.
Yes.
Because, Chair, at that stage, this was quite an extravagant vehicle for me to drive as a lieutenant colonel.
You would not have been entitled to a car of that value.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes. And whose idea was it that the true the nature of the car be misrepresented?
This was done by Colonel Barnard, Chair.
Yes, with your approval, with your
yes,
knowledge.
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
Colonel Barnard, Chair, at that stage was head of the procurement section at CI.
Was he head of procurement?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes. And he also knew where the vehicle was, or who would be using the vehicle?
I'm not sure,
You are
Chair.
not sure
I'm
about
not sure
that?
if he knew who that vehicle went to.
Yes. Okay. And did he know that there was misrepresentation, or he truly believed that the vehicle was the one that was written on the asset register?
Chair, he definitely would have known because the suggestion came from him.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the you talked earlier on about General Nchwe giving you her ID and utility bill. Was that because at the Department of Transport the vehicle was to be registered in her name?
That is correct, Chair.
But on the asset register at Crime Intelligence, it would be reflected differently.
That is indeed correct, Chair.
Okay. What was going to happen in terms of this arrangement to petrol slips and so on? Because if a car is under Crime Intelligence and is being used for the operations of Crime Intelligence, one would expect that there would be petrol slips that would be brought in from time to time. Did this happen in regard to this car, even though it was being used by General Nchwe?
Yes, Chair. What I can say with regards to what you just mentioned, although the said vehicle was allocated on my name on the CI register, Chair, from the time that this vehicle was purchased and subsequently handed over to General Nchwe, up until the time that I was admitted into the witness protection program, I had not received a single receipt in terms of petrol slips or any other receipts regarding this vehicle, Chair. So basically there would be no claims posted against this vehicle in the time frame that I mentioned, because I'd never received any receipts.
And of course, if they came, would anything written in them betray the lie that was to be found in the asset register? In other words, would the petrol slip reflect that it's a different car, a much
The petrol
car?
slip
or would they not?
The petrol slip, no, Chair, because that will just be a normal petrol slip that you would fill in any other vehicle.
Yes.
But in terms of this vehicle being registered on the system, it would have been allocated the SR number.
Yes.
So if one had to punch in that SR number, it would come up as a Audi A4 and not an Audi Q5.
Oh, so all the places where information needed to be changed in order to accord with the misrepresentations had been changed.
Chair, when the initial change was made as to disguise the true identity of this vehicle,
Yes.
once it was captured on the system as a A4, wherever you go in any... Sorry, Chair?
It remained like that throughout.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, all right. So, but if there were no petrol slips, anybody investigating would have found it strange that there were no petrol slips for a long period of time in regard to a vehicle that was supposed to be used.
Chair, there would have been queries, and I, at a later stage or a few months later, I did bring this to the attention of General Lazarus, and inform him that there was nothing forthcoming from General Mchwe with regards to any expenses with respect to this vehicle. Chair, General Lazarus instructed me to contact General Mchwe to inquire from her as to what the position was in terms of the cost, in terms of petrol, etc. Chair, I never got around to meeting General Mchwe. I was subsequently admitted into the witness protection program. So I don't know what became of this vehicle in terms of physically where it is now or any expenses related to this vehicle.
And also, I take it that if it was a vehicle under under crime intelligence, one would expect that whenever it had to be serviced, the relevant documentation would have had to be put into the records of crime intelligence. Is that right?
That is correct, Chair.
And in this case, there certainly would be no records of any such documents at crime intelligence for the period that you were there.
Chair, I had not received any documents from General Mchwe regarding this particular vehicle. So yes, I would say,
Yes.
from my knowledge, I don't have any documents regarding this vehicle, except that it was registered on her name.
Yes, and normally you would be the person who would know if there were documents suggesting that it was taken for a service under crime intelligence.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Chair. Colonel Naidu, after you delivered this vehicle to General Mchwe, did you ever have contact with her again?
Chair, yes, I did. I remember on one occasion, I accompanied FM11, Chair, to deliver an iPad to General Mchwe at this residence that I speak of, Essex World, Bedford View. Chair, at that stage, she had already received a vehicle, and General Mchwe did not give me any documents regarding this specific vehicle, be it, like you mentioned, if it was serviced or any petrol receipts.
Yes.
And did you have cause to go to her premises again besides delivering the vehicle?
Chair, yes, I did. There were security upgrades that were carried out at General Mchwe's house. So I did go there on at least one other occasion, apart from delivering the vehicle and accompanying FM11 to deliver the iPad, at least one other time, apart from these two occasions. Chair, I'll testify to that later with regards to the upgrades. It's further in my statement, or further down in my statement.
Yes, okay.
And why did you deliver an iPad to her?
I'm not sure where that instruction came from. It would have probably come from either General Mluli or General Lazarus. I can confirm that I accompanied FM11 to General Mchwe.
That was delivering an iPad to General Mchwe.
That is correct, Chair.
We didn't do this earlier, Ms. Fensel, but you should do it to assist the transcribers. Otherwise, when we read the transcript, you don't know what they are talking about if you look at what they've written when they rely on the pronunciation of Mchwe. Mchwe is N-C-H-W-E. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. If we can just go back, just so we have a timeline, on page 45, in paragraph 187, it says, although you can't recall the exact date on which we delivered the vehicle to General Mchwe, the date of 2 August 2010, as indicated on the purchase order, suggests that I would have delivered the vehicle around the same time. Did you have cause to peruse this purchase order?
I'm not certain if I did. I'm not sure if this particular purchase order was shown to me by Colonel Roloff, sir.
Yes, Mr. Naidu. If you have also regard to 189, you say in the last sentence of paragraph 189 on page 45,
Yes.
I have perused an e-Natus printout indicating that the vehicle was registered in General Mchwe's name on the 13th of August 2010. When would you have perused that?
Chair, this documents would have been shown to me by Colonel Roloff, sir, during his investigations into crime intelligence.
And then finally, you sometimes refer to the vehicle delivered as a Q4 and sometimes the Q5. Do you recall what type of vehicle it was? An Audi Q4 or an Audi Q5?
Physically, an Audi Q5. On paper, in terms of crime intelligence system, Audi A4.
Thank you.
We are at 4 o'clock now, but we can still continue. Is that fine with you, Colonel Naidu?
It's fine, Chair. We can continue.
Yeah. Let's continue and see how far we are at 4:30.
Yes.
We might have to go to 5, but let's see.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Colonel Naidu, could you please now deal with the vehicle that was received by Mr. Timmy Marimutu?
That
Chair.
is page 47 of
Page
this
47.
affidavit.
Chair, I will not deal with this matter. As
Yes.
it also hearsay was told to me by FM08, so I won't deal with this matter.
It requires further investigation.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. And the one about General Lazarus at page 194?
Chair, General Lazarus kept a pool of SR vehicles at our store, CI store, namely a Mercedes Viano, VW Caravel, Nissan Pathfinder, and a Nissan King Cab, which were used exclusively by General Lazarus and those close to him, including myself, Chair.
Yes.
Most of these vehicles were used to Island Rock. Like I mentioned earlier, Chair, Island Rock was not accessible with an ordinary vehicle. It needed a 4x4 to get there. So
Yes.
these vehicles would often be used for these trips and any other trip that General Lazarus undertook. So basically, these vehicles were parked when it was parked in a store, when it was not being utilized by either General Lazarus or those close to him.
Yes. Okay.
And Colonel Naidu, did you say that you also had use of the four-wheel drive vehicles?
Yes, I did. Chair, is it possible if I can just take a 5-minute break?
Yes, no, that's fine. Let's, well, earlier on I said, I think 10 minutes, I ended up taking more. Let's rather come back at 4:15. Is that all right?
That is fine, Chair. Thank you.
Just to give more time so that whatever needs to be done can be done. Okay, we will adjourn.
Thank you,
and
Chair.
return at 4:15. We adjourn.
All rise.
Are you back, Colonel Naidu?
Yes, I am, Chair. Chair, if I may, just
Yes.
a humble request, Chair.
Yes.
I asked for a break earlier just to stretch my legs and walk around. I'm getting cramps in my legs, Chair.
Oh, so
but-
maybe we shouldn't continue for too long.
Chair, if I can request, if we can continue tomorrow, Chair. I'm just battling to sit with my legs cramping. And it's also
Okay.
quite warm in here where I am, Chair.
Oh, okay. I have a hearing that is supposed to start at 9 tomorrow in regard to some application. And I wanted to finish this first before I get to that. But if you are no longer comfortable, we can't continue. It's okay. What we'll do is I'll deal with the application tomorrow at 9, and then when we are done with that, then we'll need to continue with Colonel Naidu and
Yes, Chair.
finish whatever else was planned for tomorrow. We'll have to wait until we have finished with Colonel Naidu after that application.
Yes,
So
Chair.
9 o'clock it will be that application. As soon as we finish with that application, it will be Colonel Naidu. We try and go up to when we finish. Then we'll follow whatever else was planned for tomorrow. So I think you will need to, share the information with the evidence leader who was going to lead whichever witness was going to be for tomorrow. But I'm sure they'll talk to me as well.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
Chair, if I can have just an indication just from the point of view of witness protection as to what
Yes.
time you would like the witness to be here tomorrow so that they can make arrangements.
I think that it would be better that I think it should be here about 9:45.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we will stop at this stage then to take into account Colonel Naidu's situation, and then we'll continue tomorrow after the application that I will hear at 9 o'clock. We adjourn.
All rise.
Thank you, Chair, for accommodating my request.